Miigwech.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Thank you so much for joining us for An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade. This week, we're introducing you to a wonderful organization in our city, Rideauwood Addictions and Family Services. And their new CEO, Mary Bartram, is here to join me today. Hello, Mary. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you. Thanks so much for having us here today.
I'm so excited to chat about everything that you're doing because you're breaking so many different barriers and you're really helping so many people in the community by bringing addictions to the forefront and saying there's no shame. We're here. We want people to get their lives back. Mary, how did you find yourself as the new CEO?
Thanks so much for the question. It's been a great opportunity for me. I was so excited to come to Rideauwood, and for a couple of really important reasons. One is that stigma towards folks with substance use disorders is such a big problem. I've worked in the mental health sector as well, and it's a big problem there too. But really important to try to break those barriers for people who are, and families who are experiencing substance use disorders, but also gambling and gaming addictions. I mean, these are really big issues in our community, and it's important that places like Rideauwood can provide publicly funded services for folks when they are experiencing those kinds of issues. So definitely super excited to be part of it. Rideauwood is also amazing because it provides services in the community, right? So you hear so often about how people go to, say, a residential or bed-based facility, and then they come out and go back to their regular life without those kind of supports. But places like Rideauwood are there to provide those services in the community, so it's super important. And really exciting to be a part of it.
I can feel your passion.
Yeah.
And that's what a CEO needs. First ingredient, passion, and you've got that in spades.
Yeah.
For those that may not be familiar, you touched on some of the services that you offer, but if I was in an elevator with you and we're going up 20 floors, what are you telling me about Rideauwood?
Well, I'll tell you a couple of things. We provide services across a range, so everything from education in middle school classrooms to counseling for kids, youth, all the way through to supports for adults and families who are experiencing substance use, gambling, problematic gaming, and we also run one of the 2 drug treatment courts in Ontario.
And it's so important, you've mentioned this a couple times, and I just want to pause and talk about it for a second. Addiction is a family issue. We know this. I think for many years we might have tried to turn a blind eye to that, but the fact that you put the family, the person you're supporting, in the middle and support all, speak to me about how crucial that is.
Well, it's actually interesting. Rideauwood was founded in, I think, 1976, and it was originally, its mission was around supporting families. So it has a long history of supporting families in the community. We know that the family is so important, both for providing support, but also for the supports that they need themselves to move the whole family system towards more health and well-being. So it's a really critical part of the response that we as a community can provide to people who are experiencing a substance use problem or an addiction. So really, really an important piece for sure.
So it's in the DNA of Rideauwood to
absolutely,
to
yeah,
care for
going
families.
all the way back to the beginning. Yes,
I love that.
Yeah.
National Addiction Awareness Week. We're in the middle of it now. Talk to me a little bit about how important it is that people sort of maybe pause, reflect at this time about maybe themselves, maybe a family member. How can we be supportive at this time?
Well, it's a really important week for raising awareness and for giving people kind of a mental check, right? An opportunity to reflect on their own substance use health, their own relationship with substances, as well as what they can do to better support people in the community, in their family, in their workplaces with their substance use and addiction issues. So I do think it is a really important way to bring that focus to such an important issue. Since I got this job, two things have really stood out for me. One is the number of people who are saying, Rideauwood saved my life or changed my life, or people in my circle of friends and acquaintances, I've had a number of people come forward to tell me that story. The other is let's get people off the street. So the real importance of a compassionate response to substance use problems and really looking at our own stigma, it's really, really important. And I've been taken aback in both cases, moved and taken aback. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I worked in the homeless sector about a decade ago, and I remember being in a meeting and hearing about the rates of opioid use and just the deaths, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is a crisis. That was a decade ago, Mary. I could never, I'm not an expert by any stretch, I could never have foreseen what we're dealing with now. How has Rideauwood had to keep up with this very, very tragic trend?
Absolutely. Well, I think that one of the ways that Rideauwood has evolved over the years is to really think through how we provide services, what's our approach, what's our orientation, and we strongly identify with both harm reduction and abstinence. Like, our definition of harm reduction is inclusive of people who want to reduce their substance use as well as people who want to stop. And one of the things that's really, I think, impressive and innovative, and it's not just happening at Rideauwood, it's happening elsewhere, but bringing groups of people together who may have different goals and they can each support each other, right? So it really breaks down some of that us and them thinking and creates a space where everyone is welcome.
And I keep hearing too, sort of personal, person-centered, unique. This isn't a cookie cutter.
No, absolutely. We know that there are many pathways to recovery and well-being, whether it's for substance use disorders or problematic gambling or mental health issues, that they're often interconnected and that it's really important to meet people where they're at and support them along the way.
What would you say to someone that's listening and maybe they themselves or a family member is struggling, and I think about us going into the holidays, and although everything's supposed to be cheery and bright, it isn't so jolly for everybody. Give me a sense of how we can support.
Absolutely. Well, there's lots of information available on our website, other websites, the National Addictions Awareness Week. There'll be lots of materials being circulated that can help answer your questions about where to go for help. Here in Ottawa, we have several networks, Access Mental Health and Addictions, for example, where people can connect into a variety of services, including the services that Rideauwood provides. So if you're concerned and you're thinking about reaching out for help, there are places to start, including Rideauwood and some of our partner organizations as well. Yeah.
And let's talk as well about the words we use around addiction, because certainly, in the last decade, I've seen a real shift in the language that's used. How is this being sort of shared with everybody here in this region?
Well, it does keep evolving, and I can confidently say it will continue to evolve. That's certainly something I've experienced in my career so far. We're going to be putting out with our holiday campaign a new resource called Words Matter that will help walk people through sort of some ideas about things you may want to say, things you may not want to say, to help really guide people in reducing stigma. So, for example, often we use person-first language if people are comfortable with that, instead of, he's an addict, he's a person living with problematic substance use. These are simple changes that people can make. Another really interesting one is, we talk about mental health when we mean mental health, but also mental illness. And in Ottawa, increasingly, people are talking about substance use health, guided by the work of our partner organization, CAPSA. So, that's a really interesting change too, and it really trying to reduce stigma in thinking about a healthy relationship with substances, similar to how we think about physical health and mental health. So there are lots of evolving, exciting ways where just how we use words can make a difference to people and move us towards a more inclusive society and compassionate as well.
It's funny, as I was preparing for today, some words kept sort of evolving for me, and two that were there were dignity and hope. So I'm hearing a lot about dignity, that, you talked about it right off the top, but in terms of sometimes these are clouded in shame, these issues, and we want to take that and take the spotlight off and put lots of love there. But also from the hope perspective, that there is hope, that I've spoken over the years of many people that have gone through Rideauwood, and they have said it has changed and saved their lives.
Yeah, absolutely, and I've been hearing that as well, and that's the thing about hope, is that it's a limitless resource. It's always there for us, even when we're in our darker times, to be able to access hope, and that there are people who are, and agencies like Rideauwood that are there to support people through those times, I think is part of what makes hope keep turning around. Yeah.
And what do you see for Rideauwood under your leadership in the next couple of years? Where are you going?
Yeah, well, Rideauwood is doing amazing work in terms of, like I said, working in the school systems, but also working in the community, working with folks who are involved with the justice system. So we work with lots of partners in the community in Ottawa, and I think we'll just keep growing those opportunities so that we can provide addiction counseling, substance use counseling, and that prevention work in different sites, as well as grow what we can offer on site at Rideauwood as well. Yeah.
We only have a very short time, and I apologize for this, but I do want you to talk about your team, talk about the team at Rideauwood that provides all this great support.
Well, it's amazing. We have an incredible array of counselors who work do the actual counseling with. That's mostly who we have at Rideauwood. It's very much focused on providing services to people, both education but also counseling services. And then we have a small but mighty team that keeps the lights on and helps to manage those partnerships that we talked about. Yeah.
And remind us of your website, Mary.
www.rideauwood.org. There you go.
Easy to find, easy to find. And a great opportunity, we're going to chat with you a little bit later. We've got lots of great guests today, but a great opportunity this time of year to make a donation as well to Rideauwood. Maybe it's someone that has seen their life changed, or maybe it's a loved one, and they want to give a gift as well to Rideauwood.
Absolutely. I think there's so many people whose lives are touched by addiction, by substance use disorder, by gambling problems too. Increasingly we see that. So this is a time to consider contributing to the community's response. And it's, the funding helps to strengthen our capacity, but it's also about building community to have contributions from community members, from organizations, and so on. Yes.
And some people, want to feel that hope, and they give to feel that warm and fuzzy hope that maybe someone else's life will be changed as well.
And it very well could be. Yeah, that's beautiful. The idea.
Beautiful. Yeah. We'll see you in a few minutes. Okay. We're going to come back. Stay right where you are. Mary Bartram joining us. Of course, she's the CEO of Rideauwood Addictions and Family Services. I'm Sam Laprade. This is An Hour to Give. We're coming on back. Stay with us.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Watch the new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Sam Laprade, host of Ottawa Business Matters. We're going to gather here every single week and speak about business here in the capital. We're going to inspire, influence, and inform.
On the next Daytime Ottawa, artists David Kern and France La Liberté join me on the show. They're going to be talking about their brand new book. It is called Creative Surge, 3 Winters with Tom Thompson, of course, a wonderful artist in his own right. Also on the show, Toto 2 Theatre presents their brand new production. It is called SpongeBob, the Broadway musical. I am not kidding. Also on the show, Julie Findlay, Mom in the Know and ambassador for Foodland Ontario, prepares some fabulous recipes. All that and more on the next show.
This is a perfectly healthy child. What's unhealthy are birth alerts, a racist practice that may stop this Indigenous mother from going home with her newborn. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
Well, if you watch An Hour to Give frequently, you'll know I love speaking with people that do the frontline work. And today we're featuring Rideauwood Addictions and Family Services. And Amanda Nielsen and Samantha Gray, they're joining me today. Hello, ladies. How are you? Nice to see you both. Samantha, tell me what your role is.
Sure. So I'm an adult addictions counselor, and I do a little bit of everything, but I support anyone 25 and up. And up. And up.
And that's a big job you have.
It's a big job.
Big job, big job. You have a big job too, my friend.
I do.
Amanda, what do you do?
So as the manager of clinical practice, one of the main roles I have is ensuring that all our programming is coming through a trauma-informed lens with a sense of harm reduction. And that's really just, again, that compassionate care, being able to have the most progressive understanding of what problematic substance use, problematic gambling is, so we can best serve the folks that come through our doors.
And you know, if there's anything that I've learned over my many years, 53 years, is that there's always a story. And when you speak about trauma-informed, maybe some people, listeners, viewers may not be aware of what that means. Dig a little deeper for me.
So I've been in the field for 25 years, and I started working with youth who were in inpatient treatment centers who were having, devastating impacts. Substance use was having a devastating impact on their lives, and I would sit there across from a 16-year-old and go, okay, so how are we going to make sure you never use alcohol ever again? And that idea of abstinence was the only option. Abstinence, this was it, and if you didn't do that, that was a failure. That you weren't trying hard enough, that you weren't ready enough, that you weren't, focused enough, you didn't care enough. And what I've learned over 25 years is that, you know what? People use substances to meet their fundamental needs, to manage chronic stress, to deal with the trauma that they've experienced, that alcohol and other substances and other behaviors like eating and gambling and even work can really, in the moment, is so effective temporarily. But when people are struggling and are in so much pain, temporary is enough. And so they're going to do what all of us human beings do, and we do what works for us over and over and over and over again. Well, in many cases, when it comes to substance use or any other behavior that we're using as a tool to manage pain, to try to be functional in this world, is that eventually those pieces can cause us problems. But now we're in a position of, I don't have any other tools. If I don't have alcohol, if I don't have cannabis, if I don't have gambling, I'm going to fall apart. I'm not going to be able to function. And so people are really in this place of, do I give up what I know is causing harm, but it's also the only thing I know that's helping me get through. And so being able to ensure that our programs come from that foundational understanding, so that it's not just about did you or did you not use. It's not just about you need to stop this. It's how do we reduce the harms that this is causing and increase your quality of life, so you're getting what you need. You're feeling like you can, that you have the supports in place, that you have what's important to you to heal, so that all of a sudden alcohol is just alcohol. And cannabis is just cannabis.
You know what
et
that
cetera.
was? That was a 2-minute masterclass on addictions.
Right?
Yes, that was brilliant.
And if I can add, because
Please.
Amanda is a huge champion, and in groups and sitting with people, we really do talk about substance use, addiction, gambling as a symptom of mental health, a symptom of trauma, a symptom of unmet needs. And I like to often frame it as let's add before we subtract.
Oh.
Right?
Ooh, go there. Go there. I want to know more. I want to know more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And very much aligned with what Amanda's saying, like let's add more coping, let's add more tools, let's add more people and community, right? Support. Let's add more quality, and then that inevitably starts to push the substance use and other behaviors out without just being like, hey, give me that one thing that has maybe been allowing you to survive, right? And that approach has been working so brilliantly for people. And often even the folks we're sitting in front of are surprised, right? That isn't a message they've been given, and sometimes they come in very scared and defensive, and we let them lead the way. And so that's that trauma-informed piece, absolutely.
And it's almost, and I, you know, once again, I worked, you know, in the homeless sector for a long time.
Yeah.
I think many of the people that I met, they had so little trust around them, meaning they didn't trust, people didn't trust them. So it sounds like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're putting their lives back in their hands and saying, here's all these great tools. We trust you to sort of take the journey you're going to take.
Well, and this is the beauty of trauma-informed care, and even when we look at harm reduction principles, harm reduction strategies, you know, many of us can sort of think about, you know, safer consumption sites, needle exchange, but harm reduction principles, it's about understanding that there are benefits of use, right? It's about both trauma-informed care and harm reduction are around collaboration. Right? I might be bringing 25 years of experience to a session, but you are the only you on this planet. And so how do we work together to find what's going to work for you? Right? And that idea of like, let's create this judgment-free zone. You're doing the best you can with what you've got. Of course, right? A lot of the messages in group and individuals, of course, you turn to substances. Of course you turn to gambling, right? Like that was the salve. That is what got you through. Often, and I've had the pleasure of co-facilitating with Sam groups and trainings, and you know, we often say, thank goodness you found substances, because for many folks, they may not be here today. And so here they are, alive, managing, and in treatment, and being.
And I think so often too, people see this as a relationship they have. They have a relationship with alcohol, a relationship with food, gambling, etc. But I know I've had to break up with people, right? So this is a bit of a breakup, but it's the way it's being done, right, Samantha?
Absolutely. And it's interesting you say that, because sometimes we'll support people to like write a breakup letter to their substance use. And to not only say goodbye, but to say thank you. To Amanda's point, thank you for what you've given me, and I don't need you anymore, right? And then people can find other ways to really take care of themselves and live a meaningful life. And certainly we work in this field because we know that recovery is possible for people, and that through some of the most kind of severe circumstances, people can really find their way. So yeah, it's quite actually a privilege to work with people who experience problematic substance use and other behaviors.
I'm having this little something on my shoulder saying, I need to ask you how you all take care of yourselves. So tell me how you take care of yourselves.
Well, for me, it's boundaries, and it's boundaries in the sense of I take a lunch break. Right? I have a start time and end time, right? So it's those pieces. But I think also what I learned in the field, because I got to tell you, there were times where I didn't have boundaries, and I'm like, oh, a client's in crisis. I need to be there to save. And I'm like, so part of the boundaries for me and what I've experienced is people do amazing things, and people have excellent, like, can take care of themselves, and it's trusting that they'll be okay. Right? It's trusting that I'll be here when the time is right, but that they're going to manage. And so really, again, you mentioned sort of putting their lives back in there, in their hands of like, I trust that here are some resources, because we're not a crisis center. We do operate, I mean, we have evening groups, but we're mainly 9 to 5. And so, you know, we resource our clients, and we trust that they will access those resources. So for me, that was a really important part of just trusting, going back to your point about trusting that they're going to take care of themselves, and I don't need to be the hero of the day.
Absolutely.
A lot of people fall into that.
Of
We know.
course.
Absolutely. Samantha, how do you take care of yourself?
And I love that. I always kind of reflect in myself, like people survive before me and they'll survive after. And that takes some of that pressure. And then certainly a huge like practice what you preach.
Right.
So anything that I'm going to be teaching to folks related to like mindfulness and like really authentic self-care, community care, right? Finding my own community that offers me support. Taking vacation, right? Doing things that are fun and that add balance to my life so that I'm showing up well, right? You can't pour from an empty cup,
No,
so
exactly.
I have to make sure it's full.
And one of the reasons I asked is because, you know, we're encouraging people to call Rideauwood. We want you to be a healthy, strong team.
Absolutely.
I cannot believe we only have a couple of minutes left because I could spend all day with you two. All day. But I really want to get to that. So we've got National Addiction Awareness Week coming up. We only have a couple of minutes. But what does it mean to you? I'll start with you.
Yeah, so for me, it's about letting everybody know, you know, having a more up-to-date understanding of problematic substance use and problematic gambling and gaming, and to have that awareness that, you know what, it doesn't need to be a shameful thing, right? That's a really important. So those two pieces are really important, highlighting what's available.
And how about you, Samantha?
Yeah, so I feel like continuing the conversation is such a huge piece, and especially I find right now in this like kind of period of time. And doing a lot of work to really kind of combat stigma in the communities and then within individual people, right? Like stigma prevents people from getting help. And so the more that we're mindful of our language, the more we can educate people, our hope, and I think what we're seeing is that people feel a lot more comfortable to call and ask for help, to walk through our doors and not with their head hanging low.
Because, I mean, let's face it, addiction knows no face. So it could be someone that works for the police, it could be someone that works in the government, it could be someone that's right now down in the Rideauwood market, it could be somebody that's your teacher. I mean, it knows no face. So from that perspective, talk to me a little bit about obviously not releasing anybody's names, but just that the vast number of people you see from all walks of life. Talk to me a little bit about that, Sam.
And truly, we see everybody.
Right.
And I feel like that's why it can also be a really contentious issue. Substance use impacts everybody, right? It's not them, it's us. It's our family, it's our friends, it's our community, right? And so for me, I mean, I meet that, right, in any suffering with just like open arms. Let's support you in healing that pain. And then substances, gambling, anything. Won't take as much as it's taking.
We only have, honestly, 30 seconds. Talk to me about gambling.
Gambling. So here's the thing, both with substance use and gambling, there are lots of people who can use substances and not have a problem. Lots of people who can gamble and not have a problem. Lots of people who game, not have a problem. And then it can become a problem for people, and we don't actually see a lot of difference between the reasons it becomes problematic, right? People don't know how to relax. People need their brains to be quiet. People need that social connection, right? People need to feel like they have achievement or accomplishment. And so when something meets that need in a way that hasn't been met before, again, we have that, I'm going to do it over and over and over again.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much
it very
for
much.
having us.
I could spend all day with them. Amanda Nielsen and Samantha Gray from Rideauwood. Come on back. We've got more to talk about here on An Hour to Give.
For me, the end was just the beginning. I felt I must come. If I did not come at once, it would be too late. And these places that are watered with the best blood of Canada might only be names and memories. I see it in the soldiers, the grief I know so intimately. And I will not abandon these men to it. The isolation wears on me. Slowly, the silence takes over, as if my heart has given out of air. I cannot talk. I can only paint.
For more than 2 years, Mary Ryder Hamilton painted the battlefields of the First World War, creating an unforgettable visual record of service and sacrifices at immense personal cost.
On the next Daytime Ottawa, artists David Kern and France La Liberté join me on the show. They're going to be talking about their brand new book. It is called Creative Surge, 3 Winters with Tom Thompson, of course, a wonderful artist in his own right. Also on the show, Toto 2 Theatre presents their brand new production. It is called SpongeBob, the Broadway musical. I am not kidding. Also on the show, Julie Findlay, Mom in the Know and ambassador for Foodland Ontario, prepares some fabulous recipes. All that and more on the next show.
A catastrophic humanitarian crisis is unfolding in Lebanon. Children and families have been killed. Thousands of civilians have lost their homes, and it's estimated that more than 1 million people have been forced to flee. The 12-member agencies of the Humanitarian Coalition are providing life-saving relief, but more aid is urgently needed. You can help. Please donate today at together.ca. Your donation will be matched by the Government of Canada, the Humanitarian Coalition. Together, saving more lives.
And we're back on An Hour to Give. I'm so excited. Don Burke is here. He is a partner at Kelly Santini and a big champion of Rideauwood Addictions and Family Services. Hello, Don. How are you?
Very good, Sam. Thanks for having us.
I'm so excited that you're here. So Kelly Santini, you've made today possible for Rideauwood. How important is it for you to be supporting this organization?
Well, it's very important, and I think, you know, you've heard Mary and you've heard Amanda and Samantha talk about the services that Rideauwood offers and the need for those services. So we're very proud to be supporters. You know, I'm on the board as well. I'm chair of the Fund Development Committee, which is a task in itself, trying to raise money for the organization. And so anything we can do to help, you know.
So I have a very important question for you.
Sure.
What's harder, being a lawyer or being a fundraiser?
I think being a fundraiser.
I agree. I agree. It is challenging. There's just so many amazing causes. And I think Rideauwood has just this wonderful alumni, if you will, of people that have had their lives changed and saved, and they may not know that they could give back to Rideauwood.
Well, that's it exactly, and that's the challenge, quite frankly. You know, the challenge is twofold. I think that you've identified the fact that there is competition for charitable giving, you know, and there are many organizations in Ottawa that are in need of additional funds to serve their clientele, just as Rideauwood is. So, you know, that's what we run up against when it's fundraising, and that's the difficulty of it, you know, but nonetheless, you're absolutely right. We do have a very significant alumni. The organization has been in existence since 1976, you know, has been a very important cog, I think, in the healthcare world in this community, and you know, have graduated many people, have helped many families. When I say graduated, have seen people through difficult times, you know, and put them on the right path again, or I shouldn't say put them on the right path, coach them to achieve that.
Yeah, no, I think that's
themselves.
fair. And I think too, what people may not realize, we tend to, you know, maybe not notice smaller organizations but having really big impact. And that's what I love about this show, is because you have an opportunity to hear from the frontline workers and from Mary and yourself about the impact of this organization. So you're part of the board.
Correct.
Talk to me a little bit about the board and you know, how excited they are to be serving in this way.
Well, you know, and it's interesting. I mean, I think, and certainly the folks that sit on the board with me, they come from different business interests or healthcare, you know, connection and whatnot, and you know, we make an effort, I think, really to get a very good cross section of the community. We focus as well on lived experience, you know, be that the individual themselves, perhaps overcoming, you know, a compulsive behavior issue, whatever, you know, substance use, but also maybe having family that has gone through those struggles struggles. So we focus on that as well. We think that's very important. You know, the board members bring that experience, bring that lived experience to the table. But, you know, and I'm sort of here today to talk a little bit about sponsorship, but another very important, I think, contribution people in the community can make to an organization like Rideauwood is watch for the opportunity to volunteer. You know, that's very important. And our board membership, you know, changes every so many years, and we have a sort of a matrix of skills that we'd like to make sure is filled, you know, from time to time. So we're looking for people, and we've been very successful in achieving proper and good representation on the board. A very committed group.
Well, you've really just defined what philanthropy is: time, talent, and treasure.
Right.
Right? You're looking for people to give of their time, give of their talents. And, you know, I know all boards love somebody that's got HR experience and that's a lawyer and, you know, that can provide all that. But also that lived experience is also important as well. Correct. And then you add in that treasure piece, the sponsorship piece. Yeah. Obviously, those donations, those philanthropic donations and sponsorship is just as key. Talk to me a little bit about how you're doing there.
You know, sponsorship is really important. And I think it's a win-win. I think, quite frankly. I believe it definitely is a win-win, certainly from the experience that Kelly Santini has enjoyed over the years. You know, we've contributed, let me put it this way, the community has been good to Kelly Santini, and from that point of view, we want to be good to the community. So we like to give back, and we know it pays dividends. We know it positively reflects on our brand. You know, so
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the sponsorship and certainly to direct anybody to go to our website and to see the sponsorship package that's been put together there. I think it's clever, you know, in the sense that it identifies programs that we're looking for organizations or individuals, whomever, families to sponsor. The dollar amounts aren't over the top, you know, but the recognition as a partner of Rideauwood and the program that the organization or the business may be sponsoring is true and meaningful. And as I say, it's good for a business's brand. You know, sure. It puts a positive spin on it.
And Don, you know, Kelly Santini has such an incredible reputation in this city. You know, I put up my hand and say I've been a client, and I think a lot of people, when they're looking for somebody that wants to give back to the community, they do look at those things. They do see how key it is for people to also be giving back to the community, and it's wonderful that you're obviously gifting this show today and being so involved. And I think it's one thing as well to be so open about your connection with Rideauwood. I think there's something about that. People then can model themselves and say, you know, maybe it's a new lawyer and says, maybe who should I get involved with? And they see themselves in you.
Exactly. And, you know, as a firm, I can say that we look to younger associates and whatnot to get involved, to volunteer, you know. Rideauwood's not the only organization out there. There are other organizations, and we've done that over the years, you know. And as I say, it's community responsibility, social responsibility. It's marketing. There's no question. You know, I can't deny that. Some people may look at it and say, oh, well, you're just doing it to get your name out there. Well, it's marketing, but it's socially responsible.
Yeah, I mean, you could market in lots of other ways.
That's
so
right,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's fantastic. And you know, it's not lost on me, Dawn, that you know, you or I, we could be driving pretty much in any community and see somebody on our streets that is suffering. But we also know people are suffering and they're going to work every day. We know people are suffering and they're trying to have their family operate regularly every day like every other normal family. Absolutely. So addiction knows no face. Do you find it hard to see what's happening in the city and how far it's come, especially during the pandemic?
It really is, and it's eye-opening, quite frankly. We all, you know, I mean, certainly someone my age have seen an awful lot, I guess, but it is eye-opening. And you know, at board meetings, we open basically every meeting with a participation by a client, someone who describes the treatment they received at Rideauwood, what stage they're at in terms of the challenges that they were facing, how they're overcoming those challenges, and there's no class or there's no type of person, that can be afflicted by, the issues. They come from all walks of life, quite frankly, and it really is quite amazing. And it's not just that individual that is overcoming something; it's their family, it's their extended family, and so it affects a lot of people.
By the grace of God, there go I.
Absolutely.
And that I find, I have a daughter who's 16 and she's going off to parties now. And I'm like, cover your drink and don't try anything. And, I think every house is dealing with something, right? Whether you're trying to ensure your young one doesn't fall victim to something, but also, making sure that, if a loved one in your home is challenged, that you seek out the right help. And if it's for yourself, that you bring yourself to a moment of making sure stigma doesn't prevent you from living a life that you want.
No, absolutely. And also what you're describing is that growing demand, that growing problem. And that's what we see at Rideauwood is that the demand for the services that Rideauwood offers is just constant. And as a result of that, our wait lists are expanding, unfortunately. Funding, as we've discussed in the past, funding from the government, doesn't necessarily filter down to community organizations like Rideauwood. So sponsorship certainly helps. It helps with programs. It helps with professional development for our counselors. It helps with, technology. Technology is a double-edged sword, I guess. It's a problem, but at the same time, it allows, technology allows for consultation, virtually, in maybe a more discreet fashion, than face-to-face, but it allows that more immediate consultation with someone who needs the assistance and whatnot. All of that comes with an expense to the organization. Oftentimes that money may not be there in the current budget, but if a sponsor is there to support and to help in that regard, that's a big plus, big plus.
Are they ever lucky to have you as a champion? I'm sitting here thinking there's not a lot of people that could speak that eloquently about an organization
You're too kind.
they're passionate about, but it does take passion, I think, from a board to help a CEO like Mary and her team take it to the next level. What would you say to your fellow board members about their involvement with Rideauwood?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. That's what I'd say, quite frankly. The time and effort and the commitment is very impressive. No question about it.
Oh, it's a big commitment for sure.
It is a commitment, and I was joking with Mary. I jokingly said to her that she took up an awful lot of our time this summer because it wasn't easy to find someone to replace our former CEO, Joanne Levesque.
She was lovely,
who had very big shoes, and Mary has stepped into those shoes and is doing a great job. But again, we went out and we searched and again, how important is Rideauwood? We had an impressive array of candidates who came forward, to interview for the position. We're very lucky to have found Mary and glad that she came forward as well.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you joined us. Thank you so much, Don.
Thank you.
Appreciate you very much. Don Burke joining us, of course, from Kelly Santini. He made the show happen today. We thank him very much. We're going to have more chats today with Mary Bartram. Join us here on An Hour to Give.
We fought our way through Italy and then headed for Amsterdam, sweeping for Germans along the way. Our worst fear was to catch a bullet in these last hours of the war.
I was 15 when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. More than 100,000 Dutch Jews never came home. Our men were put into forced labor. By 1945, we were starving. The food drops gave us hope. And then the Canadians came.
Before Amsterdam, I couldn't have explained why we were there, all those years away from home, but the Dutch showed us why it mattered.
Papa wanted me to bring some soldiers home to thank them personally. And that's when I first saw Wilf. And I invited him over that afternoon.
Marguerite Blaise married Lieutenant Wilf Gildersleeve. They moved to Vancouver, where they raised 8 children. Today, the Dutch still remember the Canadians who liberated them.
Kids these days, people say we lack initiative.
And technology, that we're all addicted.
Kids these days, we hear that we only care about ourselves. Apparently, we're lazy.
And don't seem to have any sense of independence.
Actually, kids these days are facing a lot because the world has changed, and so have our health issues. Kids these days, we could really use your help. Join CHIO in our biggest fundraising campaign ever to transform pediatric care.
Hey everybody, my name is Karen. I'm here with my best friends Shane and Monique. Join us on Rogers TV for Fitness Faction. Every week we're going to take you through a full body workout. We've got strength training, we've got cardio, we've got HIIT. Ladies, let's get back into it.
I think we've got 10 more skaters. Let's go.
Today is all about Rideauwood Addictions and Family Services, and we're so grateful to Kelly Santini for helping today with the show as well. Mary Bartram, their CEO, is back, CEO of Rideauwood. When I say that to you, has it sunk in yet, Mary?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. It sinks in more every day. I'm very proud to have the opportunity.
We spoke a little bit earlier, and I really wanted to pause here again. We talked about words matter, all of the different language that we use around addictions, and I'll be honest, sometimes I'm a little bit nervous. I'm going to say the wrong term or a term that's maybe a bit outdated, but there's a pledge we can take. Help me out.
Yes, we're just finalizing it, and keep an eye out for it. We're really going to ask people to make a pledge to try to use language that's less stigmatizing, and hopefully that pledge will also help to raise awareness and give people some concrete tools they can practice.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And where would we find all of that? Is this on your website?
Yes, it will be on our website, and we'll also be spreading it out through social media and through our list of folks who are already connected to Rideauwood. So stay tuned. Yeah.
And I know one of the moments, the milestones that are really important is Medallion Night.
Absolutely.
Walk me through this, Mary.
Medallion Night is a special occasion for really welcoming and celebrating the journeys that people have had with Rideauwood. So we welcome former clients, current clients to come together, families, young people, adults, the mix of folks who use Rideauwood services. Board members and staff participate as well. We provide people with an actual medallion that recognizes celebrates their journey with Rideauwood, and it's a time to hear from people. People tell their stories and share their stories of hope and recovery as well, and recovery in all shapes and sizes. So it's really a wonderful opportunity to bring the community together to celebrate together.
And I can only imagine, and once again, I don't want to put words into anyone's mouth, but I can only imagine that when someone maybe steps for the first time into Rideauwood, thinking that someday they're going to celebrate their recovery feels like a long way off. So does this Medallion Night also give others hope that are maybe trudging along trying to find their way?
Absolutely. I think we know in terms of how hope and stigma, hope is kept alive and stigma is, kind of brought down, that hearing from people who have been through their own journeys and come through to a place where they have more well-being is really inspiring and motivating for people, and yes, absolutely can keep the hope going for folks when they're in a darker place. Yeah.
What have you attended yet?
I've heard about it in a lot of detail, and we're looking forward to. We're just discussing when we're going to do the next one. So, but I've certainly participated in things like this, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing what Rideauwood brings to it as a unique experience. So.
I've been to events similar, and I always caution people to bring a bit of tissue.
Oh, absolutely!
It's very emotional. Very emotional.
I'm somebody who needs tissue to get through the the commercials during the Olympics. Like I'm the first one to need them. So absolutely, thank you for that tip, and I will take that to heart.
Yeah, for sure. We spoke a little bit earlier with Don Burke. Of course, he's incredible. What a wonderful volunteer, and obviously very committed partner at Kelly Santini, talking about how important it is, obviously, for fundraising this time of year. This time of year, well, any time of year, but this time of year, especially in the giving season, as we know it. Giving Tuesday right around the corner as well. Talk to me a little bit about maybe this is the start of a monthly gift for someone. Maybe this is an annual gift. Maybe the office gets together and does something for Rideauwood. Lots of options.
Lots of options, as you said, and we welcome all contributions. As I said earlier, too, it's partially about the financial contribution and what that can help us in terms of expanding our impact and doing things like Medallion Night, but it's also about building community, and it's a way of being engaged, and we know how important that is for just the overall health and well-being of our community, that people are finding ways to care, and contributing to Rideauwood is something I really encourage people to consider, whether it's a one-time donation or a monthly donation, or, as you said, working together with your colleagues in your workplace and thinking, okay, this year, let's make substance use, health, and addiction our cause, and this would be a way to make that happen.
And the one thing I know too, and I'm certainly put up my hand and say I do this, when it comes to January, I think, okay, this is the year I'm getting my affairs in order. I'm going to freshen up my will. I'm going to get my finances in order. I'm going to do all those things. It's a wonderful time to start thinking about legacy giving as well. And maybe it was your child, maybe it was a spouse, maybe it was yourself that had their lives changed or saved through Rideauwood. And what a wonderful nod to Rideauwood to leave a gift in their will.
Absolutely, and that's another way that people can consider Rideauwood for expressing those types of wishes if they want to honor somebody in that way.
There's so many different ways to give, and a lot of people too, this time of year, I find, I'm a fundraiser as well when I'm not here on an hour to give. A lot of people as well are thinking about a stock donation, which allows them to save that capital gains, but you get the value of the stock, and it's a win-win for everyone.
Yes, absolutely, and we have had donors who've done that before, and it's very much welcome. So yes, there are many ways to, and if people are interested in reaching out and talking to us about if they have unique needs or interests, or if they have a particular type of programming that they're very passionate about, we're open to those kinds of arrangements as well. So it really makes a difference, and it builds community at the same time.
And Giving Tuesday, as we mentioned, right around the corner, so it's always a day, after that busy shopping period, that people sort of focus in on charity. How can we support you through Giving Tuesday?
Well, as I mentioned, keep your eye out for our pledge campaign. We're trying to give something to you as we ask for something to be given back to us too. So hopefully it's a win-win for people to learn a little bit more about ways to talk about substance use disorder, substance use health, addiction, problem gambling, all the terms that we've been talking about here today, and the fantastic discussion that you had with Samantha and Amanda as well. Really you can learn more about how to make a difference through the words that you use. So,
well, and I think that's a very first start to having a discussion with anybody. I mean, as a member of the media too, I think it's my responsibility to ensure that I'm using terms that are inclusive and invite discussion. And I think it's brilliant that you've done that. I think that's wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. I think it's important to mention too. It's not not about getting it right. It's about practice and trying, and it keeps changing and evolving, and really it's about learning and growing together. It's important to say that, because we don't want people to feel nervous about the words that they use either.
For sure. Yeah. I think there's a lot of grace around it. Would
Absolutely.
that be a good way of saying it?
A lot of compassion. That's another
compassion.
big word.
Yes, that's another word that I've heard a lot in
Yes.
the work here. What would you want someone to know about Rideauwood that maybe we haven't touched on today?
Well, that's a great question. I think, I probably have touched on it, but I want to come back to it. It's just so important that we have strong community services for people, young people, adult people, families who are experiencing substance use health challenges, mental health challenges, and gambling, problematic gaming. There's such a gap. And the Rideauwood is such an important, it's really like a treasure within the community that we have this agency that's been around for so long playing this role. And, so the support of the community is super important as well, but it's really a unique organization, and it plays such a critical role. I think that I just wanted to come back to that.
For sure. And to think it was started in the 70s, but it's never been more important than now. You're coming up on 50 years. What an incredible opportunity there. Yeah. How will you celebrate? Have you thought of that yet?
We're getting there.
Yeah.
It's as I mentioned, we're very focused on providing services to people, and so being able to plan ahead for these things is something that sometimes seems to happen in real time, but we're definitely looking at that now.
No, it's exciting. Well, keep me informed, because I want to know.
Yes.
It's great to have that. Are there any special events planned for 2025? Are you sort of working through all those? I know you've done some exciting special events in the past.
I'll take the new card here,
that's
Sam,
okay. It's all
because
good.
I don't have an answer for that one for you.
We'll watch,
I will
we'll
certainly be working on the scheduling our next medallion night, which is a very special event.
Yes, for sure.
And we're working to roll out our pledge campaign as well. So those are two things to watch for.
And those are big things. Those are big things. This is a difficult time of year for people. Do you find more people are sort of reaching out during the holidays, from your experience in mental health and other experiences?
It is a difficult time, and we do see generally that January in particular is a difficult month. And so again, in thinking about what we can each individually do, it's a time to really take stock and think about not just the words that we use, but the people that are in our circle that we can offer support to, and to reach out for help as well, and try to break through any isolation that you may be experiencing.
And I have to say, before we go, we only have a minute left, but I've interviewed a lot of people that work frontline, and it really is a nod to Rideauwood and of course to your leadership as well, and that of Joanne Levesque, that when I asked the question of Amanda and of Samantha working frontline, how they care for themselves, there was not 1 second of hesitation that they shared how important it was that they do care for themselves, create those boundaries, because then they're there to serve at the best moment they can for the people at Rideauwood. So I think that's a really big nod to Rideauwood as well in terms of leadership.
Absolutely.
That you're, there's no shyness there at all. They were very quick. I do this and I do this. I got to tell you, that's not always the answer I get. So I think it's really important.
But I think that the putting the mask on yourself first metaphor is 100% true, and I've experienced that at Rideauwood as well. The compassion goes both ways, and the importance of supporting staff. It's been a difficult period for people who provide these kinds of services, so it's really important to do whatever we can.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Mary Bartram, of course, and all of our guests today for joining us on An Hour to Give, featuring Rideauwood Addiction and Family Services. Until next time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Watch Podium exclusively on Rogers TV.
On the next Daytime Ottawa, artists David Kern and France La Liberté join me on the show. They're going to be talking about their brand new book. It is called Creative Surge, 3 Winters with Tom Thompson, of course, a wonderful artist in his own right. Also on the show,